Kirishima erupts. The Kirishima volcano in Japan just erupted for the first time in 7 years. This eruption began at 4:20 p.m. local time on June 22, 2025, and as of the making of this video 8 hours later appears to still be ongoing. Thankfully, no one was harmed and there were no indications of any damage. Despite the abundant social media posts displaying the eruption and a trace to a few millimeters thick of ash on vehicles and the ground, this eruption at least so far has been relatively small. The only reason you are seeing so many posts is that 1, it's somewhat unusual as unlike Sakurajima it doesn't generally erupt every day, and 2, about 2.5 million people were capable of seeing the eruption plume by simply looking up at the sky. The eruption plume reportedly only reached up to 800 meters above its Shinmodaki vent, which for reference, is this volcanic complex's most active vent in historical times. This plume remained at low levels, almost drifting perfectly horizontally to the east, resulting in unusually heavy ashfall not in terms of total accumulation, but rather what would be usually expected from such a small eruption. Roads were made dusty, and visibility reduced, so people may want to check their car's air filters in affected areas may want to check their car air filters. At the present, a 2-kilometer exclusion zone is still in place in all directions around exclusion zone Shinmodake's summit crater, and on the 1 to 5 scale this volcano's alert level is still at a 2. Volcano information. As a quick note, the Kirishima volcano contains nearly 24 volcanic cones and Mar explosion craters spread across a raised 27-kilometer-long and 16-kilometer-wide volcanic trend. All of these vents are south of 2 massive Pleistocene calderas linked of the same volcano which formed in voluminous VEI-7 explosive eruptions. Only 5 of these aforementioned smaller vents have erupted in historical times, with the last 8 eruptions originating from this vent. While the Ohachi vent was the dominant vent between 1880 and 1923, afterwards the dominant vent has been Shinmodaki. Only a quarter of its 8 post-1950 eruptions have lasted less than 24 hours, suggesting a strong likelihood that today's eruption is probably not over quite yet, likely only representing the beginning stage of a longer eruption. The eruption which occurred today appears to have been either phreatic or phreatomagmatic, but we do not have any confirmation of any lava fragments being observed. There were warning signs suggesting a near-future potential for an eruption at Shinmodaki going back 3 months, with a more significant change on June 21 Street. These warning signs were taken seriously by scientists, but I wouldn't be surprised if the average person had gotten overwhelmed by what incorrectly might seem like a high number of false positives. I jokingly say that in the last half-decade Kirishima, much like Indonesia's Mount Awu volcano, has frequently pranked us. What I mean by this is both volcanoes have produced multiple recent episodes of strong escalating unrest including ground deformation, signs of magma movement, and earthquake swarms, suggesting a potential near-future eruption, only to suddenly cease activity and return to background or near background normal levels just as quickly as the unrest began. What previous unrest episodes made Shinmodake's 7th instance of unrest since its 2018 eruption ended unique was its severity, being multiple times more intense than prior instances. This is why after increased degassing was observed in March, Shinmodaki was temporarily placed at a raised alert level of orange. A further escalation of ground deformation began midday yesterday, and then midday today on June 22 there was a further escalation, leading to the ongoing eruption, which so far I would assign a volcanic explosivity index of a 1. As a final note, I would like to thank my patrons on Patreon and channel members on YouTube